And for us to spend so much money when everybody else has complied with the subpoenas, everybody else has complied with the information. I mean, sorry, if you could go up to the previous slide again. Mayor Kelly spent $4,400 to get data from her cell. But then if you go to the next slide, it says that she failed to adequately respond to the Attorney General's subpoenas. She failed to turn over key text messages obtained from other sources and refused to cooperate in scheduling of her oral examination. Next slide. And it says right here, Kelly turned over only 268 text messages across 53 pages. Dalton, by contrast, turned over more than 37,000 pages of text messages. Friendly amendment to change that resolution so that it...
Not open-ended?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just, since we're having a discussion, you know, when we get into these cases that are done by either the Attorney General's office, state police, or the FBI, we have no control over the length or direction of cases. And we don't have the inside knowledge of why, you know, one person would spend more legal fees, you know, the direction of the case versus others.
But we do have the choice as individuals to participate or not.
Yeah, I mean, that goes to my other point. I think that point is in dispute from, you know, former Mayor Kelly's attorney. You know, and we've said it before, the Attorney General's office is a powerful state agency. They have subpoena power. They use that subpoena power to get people to testify. If they don't cooperate, they can hold them in contempt. So I have a lot more questions, and I just think when we start looking at people's indemnification, it's a very, very slippery slope. You know, we're all here, you know, we make very little money, $14,500. Our salary's been the same for 30 years, and if we're going to potentially lose our indemnification, I'm very concerned about that. We're not going to be able to attract, you know, quality candidates.
Safety Commissioner Robin Dalton could do all of those pieces. It makes sense that former Mayor Mike Kelly could also do it. And again, I think it's important that City Council discuss this for the public to know what is going on.
Oh, no,
I think, you know, trying to hide this.
No, there's no trying to hide it. I'm just talking about when you're talking about capping indemnification, that's a concern to me. That is the indemnification issue.
But Mayor Safford just said that there's going to be no bills. So then why should we have this open-ended? If he's saying there are no bills, then it shouldn't be open-ended.
I don't know how we can say that if we don't even know if the Attorney General's report is opened or even closed. It's ongoing, as far as I believe.
I had a conversation with the city attorney who indicated to us that this was the final report, if I'm not incorrect.
Are we incorrect on that? Okay, so...
Told me they said that it was done.
Sorry, do you mind coming to this?
No, I don't want the attorneys to come.
No, that's why they're here. Excuse me, Mayor, that's why they're here.
That is our... thank you. We can have the attorney. He does not just answer to the mayor. He answers to the entire city council.
Yes, but the attorneys need, whenever you ask a question of an attorney, this is one of the mistakes that was made in the last administration.
It's their job to be here and advise us, sir.
What is the question? Okay, so what is the specific
I had a conversation with Mr. Harper where he said to me conclusively that the Attorney General told them that this was the final report. No, we're not.
Legally, we need to pay this.
I think what this shows is there's a big disparity between the way that certain members of this council look at the report from the top law enforcement official in the state of New York and others on this council. That's what we're seeing.
Having the conversation, all I want to do is get this bill paid.
We understand you want to get the bill paid.
No one's talking about not paying a bill.
Well, then let's make a vote on it, and then let's have another discussion.
But I think the important piece is you just said that this is the last bill, but the bill says that there could be other bills. The resolution is saying there could be other bills. I am suggesting we have a friendly amendment that says this is the end of it. This is the cap.
We can't do that. Unless we know definitively that this is the final report, we can't do that.
That's why I wanted to call Mr. Harper to the microphone, because he had a conversation, and it is his job to advise us.
But I'm saying, even if he were to say that today, and the Attorney General decides they want to reopen the investigation,
at least it gives us some assurance.
Wouldn't that be a separate inquiry?
We're still going to have to pay those future bills.
No, I'm not saying we shouldn't pay the future bills. What I'm saying is, for this specific inquiry, we should end here, which is what Mr. Safford just said. He said this is the last. Did you not just say that? Am I incorrect? Can we have the minutes,
I have the
please?
email. I know we sent that. Her attorney.
I actually think we're not. We're saying the same thing. Point. If this is the end of it, there's not going to be any more bills. Right. If it's reopened, there are going to be more bills. That's just the reality.
And I'm fine if it's reopened.
Whether we write it or not, it doesn't really matter. They can decide to reopen it. We can put whatever we want in a resolution.
Well, then why did we write we were going to continue it if it's over?
We're not going to get more bills is the point.
We can have
That's what we're saying.
that argument.
Listen, my stuff has been wordsmithed to
death. The motion is to pay this bill.
The other thing I would say is, I realize you put up the data about, Robin giving over 30,000 pages. That is often used by lawyers to bury what is important. In some ways, it actually takes a lot longer for a lawyer to do it correctly and hand over what's relevant versus just burying an attorney general in 30,000 pages of something. So I wouldn't use that as the example of
the Attorney General's office themselves have said that they did not get the texts. Do you mind putting it back on?
And I agree
and
with
that she has wiped the texts, and there were some inculpatory texts that they knew because they got other people's phones, but that it was not from her. So if you go to the last slide, please.
These are. I'm glad to have this conversation because it affects all of us dramatically. Yeah. But this
cooperate. That's where I come from.
This is this motion is to pay this $4,800 bill.
And why does this say we're going to continue to pay more bills? It's a fair question by the commissioner.
The resolution says.
I've already read it, but again, it says council shall review such additional requests if found reasonable. Why? Why is that even there?
We can have that conversation another time. I want to call this question. I'm not
going to vote yes.
I don't feel comfortable voting for this. And look, I'm all in favor of paying our bills. I'm always, as the finance commissioner, that's my number one job. But to pay to have a resolution when Mayor Safford is saying this is the last bill, but then the resolution says, well, there could be more bills, and our attorney not coming up to answer our questions, it's creating a situation where I feel uncomfortable.
That's fine. You don't have to vote
voting for this, but I need to explain that to the public, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, go ahead.
So I'm trying to explain that as the finance commissioner, 100% we need to pay our bills, but it's also having this open-ended and not accepting our friendly amendment is creating a situation where I feel uncomfortable voting on this.
And I guess I would just say, as the last standing lawyer on the council, I have a problem inherently with micromanaging outside counsel when we've indemnified past leaders. If we have evidence of unethical behavior, if we have evidence of sending in fraudulent bills, I get it. But I think once we start, line editing and saying, well, they did this, they didn't do that, then there's a lack of independence for the lawyer to represent that individual, which we would all want if we were receiving counsel as well. So,
absolutely. And can I just add this too? There's a mechanism. If after the trial court reviews this, there's a mechanism if the trial court rules that someone is outside their scope, there's a mechanism for the city to go back and get that money. Right? So there is a mechanism for the city to recover the money if the trial court does come to the conclusion, or our lawyers come to the conclusion someone was outside their scope.
And I appreciate both you gentlemen's perspective on this. You both bring a different perspective than I possess, or the commissioner possesses. I'm very troubled by the fact that we can't ask questions of our attorney during a meeting. I don't know. I've been watching city council meetings for a very, very, very long time. Tony, how long have you been responding at the microphone to city council?
Yeah, I'm going to call the vote. All those in favor of this say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed to it say no.
No.
I abstain.
And there's one abstention. This matter